Hey YouTube, active asshole on pills here with another glorious rant about another issue or another group of people and yada yada yada. Anyway, uh, got to thinking just now. Went on Wikipedia.com, looked through a couple of articles, and I started thinking about my days when I used to gather signatures for third parties for a third party in Alabama, namely the Libertarian Party here, of course. You know, my first brush with politics was with third party politics. And looking back, well, looking back, I regret supporting the Libertarian Party, but I don't regret trying to challenge the two-party system in my state. Now, the you know, I resent the Republican Party and what they've done to this country. I really do. I resent these social Darwinistic, hardcore theocons, neocons, right-wing reactionaries. Sorry, Frank. Right-wing reactionaries and Austro-economics pushers. I really cannot stand these folks. I can't stand the sovereign citizens and the Christian identity and the Quiverful movement and all these other sub-movements within the conservative movement that just that bring their own brand of crazy into the mix. And sorry, I've been really stopped up lately. I mean, as you know, I work at the fumes in the factory I work in are pretty horrible. They're not healthy, but I digress. You know, and but growing up, being born and raised and growing up in Alabama, in the deep South, in the heart of Republican, Wasamakas, shit kicker land, you know, between a Republican Party that is dead set on making sure that we're drugged, kicking and screaming back into the Stone Age, that's set on making sure that tort reform has become enshrined in law, and that the Religious Rights Institute of Religion and Democracy laundry list, that's a religious right think tank founded in 1972, credited with the organization of the religious right, when their laundry list is being promoted in public policy, and you know and then you have the Democratic Party of Alabama, the state Democratic Party of Alabama, that they've no real ideas. They're intellectually bankrupt. They don't think. They're just a bunch of good old boys who just want to lie around and twiddle their thumbs, happy in the fact that their public office is in a safe Democratic bastion. Well, the few that are sprinkled through the state, whether they're in an urban area or whether they're in an area that is traditionally, well, that has traditional leanings toward organized labor going back into the early half of the 20th century. Uh, you know, the Southern strategy of the Republican Party is starting to water down into state and local level offices in recent years. So many of those guys are getting weeded out by hardcore conservatives that are taking their spot. And, you know, I just don't see the Democratic Party in Alabama, the state Democratic Party of Alabama, doing much to actually reverse the tide of the right wing reactionary corporate counter revolution powered steroid enhanced Reagan lover mythology gropers. These people, ugh, my God, it leaves acid on my tongue just thinking about how totally inept Southern Southern state Democratic parties really are. Sometimes I wonder whether Southern Democrats are just as stupid as the redneck backwater hillbilly fucknuts that typically vote for the Republican Party. How it's just amazing how utterly uninformed that Democrats in the South really are compared to Democrats nationally. It it grinds my gears to know that I have that not just me but plethoras of liberals living in Alabama. We're outnumbered 8-1 by conservatives in the state, and there just doesn't seem to be any end in sight. Even when we have our entire coalition together, even when we have in a good election year, even when we have all sorts of backup behind us. You know, we brought the entire frickin' neighborhood with us. Mainline Protestants, Hispanic voters, African American voters, you know, Native American voters, female voters who are single, you know, this, and college students. It's even on a good year, when we have our entire base organized within the state, and I'm talking about the election years of 2006 and 2008, we still lose seats compared to the rest of the country nationally, in our state legislature, in our state senate, and all the local, all the offices, all the state level offices, from governor all the way down to state superintendent. They're all flaming red. And because you know that there's no end in sight to this, because you know that the current good old boys, the old guard, will cling to the Democratic Party, will cling to the mechanisms of power within the state Democratic Party until they croak. That, knowing that they will do everything they can to make sure that fresh blood that wants to fight back within this region is stamped under their boot heel, just as it's the real progressives in Alabama, real social democrats, real followers of Keynesian economics and modern liberalism. We can't even get off the ground because we have to deal with just as much shit from the state Democratic Party as we do from hardcore right-wingers within the Republican Party. And the Green Party in Alabama, don't even get me started on them. These people, they're currently inactive. The Green Party in Alabama does not exist. There's no Socialist Workers Party, no work. It's like there's no third-party alternative. And even if there was, Alabama has some of the worst ballot access laws in the entire country of any state. It takes over 60,000 signatures just to be able to get on the ballot to run for governor as a third-party candidate in Alabama. It takes over 5,800 signatures on average just to be able to get on the ballot within any congressional district as a third-party candidate to run in the state of Alabama. And this is coming from a guy who has experience with working with guys like Mark Layfield as an independent from the 3rd Congressional District. There's no alternative. You're corralled into a situation where you're beating your head against a wall or trying to pound your skull through a glass ceiling, and you're just stuck. It's a jar. It's a pressure cooker. There's nowhere to go. There's no way to beat it. Even when we have all our ducks in a row, we're still outnumbered by at least 10% in the polls in the state by hardcore right-wingers. No, I'm starting to wonder. I understand Howard Dean. I really liked Howard Dean's work when he was the chairman of the DNC. I really loved his work because he cared about funding state parties. He cared about that, and it helped us a lot in every state in the South but Alabama. But Alabama, I'm just, sometimes I wonder if there's any way that the higher-ups at the national level or some outside group could just come in and sort of straighten these jackasses up and get them off, just get them off the fucking See, get them out of their fucking offices and actually get them to do something to challenge the Republican Party establishment. They're losing. They're not just losing. They're almost as inactive as the Green Party in this state when you think about it. It's like they just don't care anymore. And the thing is, there are plenty of Democrats in Alabama who just there are plenty of Democrats in Alabama who just who want to fight, but the old guard, the guys in charge, because of the party rules in the state and everything, they can't get their foot in the door. The old guys just look at the new guys like they're just playthings, and they're just like, oh, isn't that cute? And then they just let them walk on. What? What? I mean, granted, of course, some of the college interns that work with them will be rewarded with some kind of position working in town or something on the campaigns or something like that, and get to go to an internship in Washington afterwards and everything. But then they'll come back they'll come back to the same situation they had before, where they're not making any headway getting into the system. Something's got to happen within the Democratic Party of Alabama. With the state Democratic Party of Alabama, they don't have any ideas. We need a state Democratic Party that will fight against the Republican Party of Alabama, that will literally fight tooth and nail and will not take prisoners, just go after them. And, it's just, I don't know. Alabama, I want to believe that at some point, that at some point these last 6 years are some kind of a nightmare that we're going to wake up from, and tomorrow, well, sorry, not tomorrow, but on election day, I'm going to see 10 Democrats elected to the new Democrats elected to the Alabama state legislature, and 7 Democrats elected to the Alabama state senate. And, and then it doesn't happen. Instead, they lose seats. They lose 1 seat, 2 seat every year, and eventually, they're just in the minority. Outside of Birmingham, Montgomery, and Mobile, there's nothing but red. Red everywhere. Red everywhere. Everywhere. Just red. It's like somebody conducted a serial killing across the entire state of Alabama, just painted it red with republicanism. What, did the Republicans get together and just say, pass the goat's blood? This is, and the thing is, I'm going to switch topics for a second. Back to the topic of what I was talking about before, the Green Party. The state, even if there was a state Green Party, the Green parties in the South and in the Appalachian areas, typically they wind up getting hijacked by Republican money to get them on the ballot, just so that they can, you guessed it, chip away support from a unified moderate to left in the South by Democrats. I just find it ironic, whether it's in Tennessee, whether it's in Texas in 2008 or Virginia in 2006. The Green Party, the state Green parties in the South, are just so frickin', they're just sellouts. Hardcore sellouts that will do anything for ballot access. They'll get on their hands and knees and kiss the feet of any Republican that offers them free support, under the premise that they swear allegiance to the idea of acting as spoilers so that the Democrats can't put up a real fight against them. Not like it mattered anyway, since in Alabama we're still outnumbered 8-1 by conservatives. But again, I'm just asking for a state Democratic Party that will fight for civil liberties, civil rights, social justice, economic justice, and be unabashedly unapologetic in their fight for these values. A state Democratic Party that will fight for health care, intergenerational equity, right to human resources, just the plethora of second and third human generation rights that we need to have protected in this day and age in the face of austerity measures. And it's, well, again, there's my rant. And yeah, I'm just going to go with that because I've got everything off my chest. All right. Bye-bye.